up until now, we've been talking about how do your brands play in India, but that's probably a bit too rough to be honest. I'd now like to ask the panelists how they view how they've observed their brands play in different tiers of city in particular, and perhaps even a particular region if that tends to be something that they've noticed. So is that occasion set, is that balance between being aspirational but accessible different when you move into a lower tier of city? And if you could follow that with maybe a few clues on how you think about expansion. Where are your priorities right now? Is it access, pushing further out? Or is it building a stronger base, having that sufficient scale and density in the leading metros?
So I think our approach has been more towards managing our profits, and I know in the last panel we talked about profits not existing at some of these companies, but we've been very focused on doing that, and I think our strategy of being present in the large cities and maximizing or at least expanding in those cities tends to that. So we're able to leverage economies of scale in terms of manpower, especially management manpower, distribution, storage, warehousing, all of that. But we see a great potential in the tier 2 cities, and we're there in Pune, which is I wouldn't say a metro, but we get a great response there. We present. We only have one outlet, but we could definitely have a couple more easily. And in our markets where we operate as South and West, so many great promising cities which we get inquiries from on when you will be opening a Chili's there. So we definitely see a market there. However, just from making sure that we are maximizing our opportunity in the cities that we are present in, we would first want to maximize our presence in the metros, which is Bombay, Bangalore, Hyderabad that we are already present in, and look at adding Chennai to our portfolio.
Let me just add to what Ashish just said. So it's quite similar for us in Burger King. However, we would like to be everywhere. We expanding fast. Economically, it makes sense for anyone to build in clusters, just like what Ashish said. You need to have a critical mass of stores in each cluster to leverage administration as well as operations as well as logistics and so on. Having said that, the experience in tier 2 and tier 3 is phenomenal. People are just waiting to consume these brands. We opened a store in Chandigarh, and I'm not sure if I should just say it's not tier 3, it's tier 2. And we opened it a couple of months back. It continues to do phenomenally well. Similarly, Pune. And each place we're going to, we think people are just waiting for these brands. And there is so much of pent-up demand that the whole equation of sales to logistics costs to distribution to each one of it works so favorably. So therefore, while one would build in big cities for the sheer reason that there is a larger consumer base, and one needs to build scale over there. I think there is a big opportunity sitting out there as we expand across tier 2 and tier 3.
We're slightly not qualified in the sense that we're sticking to Delhi at the moment. But let me just share a thought process. So increasingly, when we look at this, a lot of it's everything to do with your real estate costs, right? I remember I operate a London office, and we get involved in F&B in Europe and all that stuff. 20 years ago, a Burger King or a McDonald's you know, could have a go at central London. You can forget about that now, right? Casual dining brands, right? You can forget about being in central London. And actually, it's all quite predictable because I must be becoming old offering advice to people. I wouldn't take it if I was you, but once you've pegged your rent to revenue ratio, right, stick to that like your life depended on it, and then drive your decisions in a market like this based off where that's at. Because the sorry history, particularly in the tier 1 cities, is of a 3 and 4 mortality rate when people make that decision wrong, right? Now, in reality, if you look at our game, Tam, May and me, right, you know, we need to be at, give or take, 10%. You're just not going to get that in certain markets anymore, right? So everything's ahead of us, but I think our learning is don't smash your head against the door that is South Delhi. If Hyderabad, you can lock in at 3 lakhs and 9%, right?
Thanks. And a new category like sushi. How have you guys have you thought about region even among the metros? Are there some that stand out as the most promising opportunities now?
I think just looking at it from a base level, obviously we're looking at Mumbai and Delhi and CR as a first, because I think our focus at the moment is to establish a name and then sort of learn from there in terms of how the food type behaves and moves and grows within these regions and then India in general. So our strategy we looked at is we've divided, we've partitioned India into 3 different sectors, so the north, central, and the south with the support of Franchise India. And we've figured out to this day, we don't know whether it's the figuring out that's going to work for a long time, but at this point we mapped out that India, as per our model, our offering, and based on what's available, has the potential of 30 outlets maximum. And that's saying maximum depending on the growth that's being recorded at right now. So for us, obviously, we'd like to be in the metros for the main reason that exposure is at a higher level. And then from there, we learn about the tier 2 and tier 3 cities of India and whether it's even viable. But that's going to be a decision for the local franchisee to make. Obviously, it's his investment, and we're just there to pad along and reaffirm to him that everything is going to work out. And when he wakes up, click his shoes twice, and he'll be home.
So, I think I missed this point earlier, and just wanted to highlight that. I think the way to look at our cities of tier 1, which you call metros, and is also that they're not just one city. They're 5 or 6 smaller cities in one city. So Mumbai, for example, Bandra is a city by itself if you look at GDP and compare it to a Pune or some other markets, or Mangalore or Cochin. So for a brand, it's best to just maximize these catchments and look at them as cities. So I'm told, I'm not sure if Bombay is the first market where Hard Rock has 2 outlets. And the way it was positioned was that there are 2 different cities. So there's Worli and there is Andheri, which is completely different cities. So look at these metros also in that manner, and then for a brand to expand into cities outside of these smaller cities, I would say is all about resources, right? So it's about whether you have the access to the capital, whether you have the right profile of team members that you can hire and train, and real estate. And Jimmy, to your point, forget the 3 lakh 9% in Hyderabad. That's not going to happen.
Hello. I just want to add to what I completely agree with Ashish. That there's, one obvious point in this is it kind of depends on your equity, right, and the nature of your shareholding. I think, again, for those that want to get into this game, think really hard about what you're good at, right? Because the old game, and we all played this game in India for the longest time, was get hundreds of sites as quickly as possible, and then hopefully a private equity firm takes you out, right? My best bet is those days are done, at least for now. You might be better off saying, I'm the guy that really knows how to do the Punjab, and I'm going to do it beautifully for 5 years. I'm going to get my site economics right, and then someone else's capital might be more appropriate to roll it out. So I think it's really important to sort of pick your battles, or you'll get totally strung out. Is sort of my thought.
And I think also, in terms of our cuisine in general, you know, it's still relatively fresh and new. So looking at an aggressive plan or a growth plan comparison to Wendy's or Burger King, it's like they're about planets apart. So we'll rather just get in there, learn, and slowly step. Because realistically, we've looked at it, and we looked at the whole of India and realized, you know what, we're probably only going to get 0.00001% of India. But that's fine, because that's still more than the population of the Middle East, so we're happy with that too. You know, so it sort of depends on the parameters and the stick you use to measure just exactly how you would look at these locations.
All right. So I think we've heard quite a diverse set of opinions. I think we agree on some things. Some things maybe we had some differences. I think what I took away was that approach to what is an international brand, and for some it was providing the global standard in India, being at the front of that life cycle for a category like sushi, but also some good points about making sure that it's a familiar, not only, it has to be aspirational, but familiar at the same time, so you can do some of that around menu innovation. And your point about customizing the P&L, I think more than that is just how do we all figure out how to pay our rent. So you talked about every day part matters to pay your rent, or every family member needs to want to go there to help pay your rent, right? Because it's, you know, the rents are high, and I think there was another good point on that maybe the easy part of growth is over. So just pick the poshest place you can find and throw your restaurants in there. I think everyone here recognized that that was not the best strategy, and we had to be a bit more creative, whether that meant looking to other regions, looking to lower tier cities, or changing the way we think about cities into multiple cities that happen to be clustered together. So I was personally very happy with the discussion. I think we should stop there, though.